Right, so we kindly ask you to please keep your microphones muted during the presentation to avoid any background noise. And at the end, we'll have about 30 minutes of discussion where we'll give you the floor to ask any questions. We ask you, so you can write all your questions either here in the Zoom Q&A or chat or in the Google Doc, which you can find in the chat. I'll paste that there now. And any questions we don't get to today, we'll answer directly in the Google document. So I'll share all of those with you now. And then, of course, as always, if you think of something later on, any questions, please feel free to reach out to us via the OpenAIRE Graph user forum, which is a great place to engage with both the Graph team and amongst yourselves in the community. So I'll paste all of those things here now, where you can find the Google Doc for questions, all past community call materials, and the user forum. So with that, I'll pass the floor to Paolo, who will get started on presenting the new School Explorer API. So thank you, Paolo, and the floor is yours.
Hello. Good morning. So this is going to be a quick introduction on what School Explorer is all about. Then for the technical details, of course, you will have to access the documentation and check on the APIs and verify what you can do. But what I wanted to tell you is what's inside, what actually you can find behind the APIs, and actually why you can find this kind of information. So first of all, a quick intro on what Scholix is about. So Scholix is a metadata format that we came up with together with other main organizations, Crossref, Elsevier, many publishers, DataCite, and other colleagues. The idea was simple at that time, was as simple as necessary, because the idea is that we had many sources that were starting to publish and to share links between data at that time and publications. So DataCite was a clear witness of that, so we could find those links in there. But there was no real way to exchange such links. So publishers were at that time, and we're going back to 2016, if I'm not mistaken, were interested in starting this analysis and checking on the numbers behind this, so to measure the attitude, to open up the data of the researchers, to measure the ability of their systems to serve this demand, at the same time to share this with others to understand and have indicators about the whole production. There was no way of doing this, okay? There were many disconnected sources, and you see here publishers, data centers, and so on. Heterogeneity of practices as well, so different persistent identifiers, different ways of exposing this information. It was a little bit of a mess, basically. So here is a classic example. You have publications with, some may have DOIs, some may have PubMed identifiers, different kinds of citations. Some you're very familiar with, like cites, cited by, supplemented by, supplement of. But then there are others which often have an influence in the data space, like is part of, is version of, and so on, and how to share them, which are the vocabularies to use, which are the standards, and the ideas behind the APIs and the formats were not clear. So what we came up with after 1 year work was to define a very simple model on how these links can be described, how these links can be shared, so that we could define APIs, we could define agreements, and build hubs of such links, or at least expose them whenever we have them in a common and agreed on manner. So the information model is very simple. I'm going to show it to you. The format is JSON or XML based. The concept is we are talking about a link. So we want to know when the link was published. We want to know who is the provider of the link, so where the link was actually packaged for the first time and exposed. We want to know the relationship type, and we picked for that the DataCite vocabulary. We'll know about it. And then we wanted the relationship to model the source and the target object, with some mandatory and, of course, some optional information you may want to add. Of course, what is mandatory is the identifier and the object type, because we believe it's very important to know if the origin is a publication or a data set. At that time, we only had these two main typologies: publication, intended as an object to be published for humans to read, and a data set intended as anything else. That was the basic assumption that we had at that time. And then, of course, you may have more or less extra metadata that may facilitate the reuse of the object straight away, so the link itself, for the potential users and the consumers. Now, the first service that was built to expose this kind of service, this kind of data, was Scholar Explorer, which is what I'm talking about today. At that time, again, it was all about publication and data. This is why it was called the scholarly literature and data interlinking. But now we have software as well. And software has been added in a later stage. The idea behind Scholar Explorer is to become a hub of links. Okay, and originally the idea was to collect Scholic's links in turn published by other sources. But then in the end, we realized that this was not always the case. So we connected Scholar Explorer basically to the OpenAIRE graph. So the OpenAIRE graph, as I will show you, is a very good channel to collect this kind of information and to republish it in an agreed-on format, as I just mentioned. So the idea was to build what we call the next generation citation index. So Scholar Explorer today, and that was published in March 2025, contains all possible links between known as open data, between publication data, publication software, and in between these kind of objects. So you have the whole collection of open data citations published by Crossref, Open Citations, and many others out there. Plus, you have all the links that we can collect about how publications and data, or publications and software, are connected with the relative semantics. So it is indeed the larger graph of citations linked at the moment. In this case, I think size matters in many ways because it's about coverage after all. So we are covering all possible open data sources. And where we cannot achieve or we cannot reach out to some of the information behind the papers, we also perform inference, full text mining, to collect the extra mile. Actually, this extra mile of links, we pour it into Open Citations. So if you access Open Citations, you also get the data that we are inferring from our system. So we target all kinds of products, again, so publications, data, and software, and others where we are not able to classify according to the first three categories. And we export via Scholic's. So the Scholar Explorer APIs return Scholic's links, as I've shown you before. And they're free at the point of use. This is actually very good in a way and very bad in another for us. So to tell you what we are doing, I need to go through what the OpenAIRE graph is about a little bit. So we are collecting here from 2,000 different data sources worldwide, which include the usual suspects, so Crossref and the publishers, as we are traditionally accustomed to work with, plus many other data sources which are relevant for research in general. So we include all the preprints, of course, all the open access publishers, also the one that go beyond, so the diamond publishers that go beyond the Crossref indexes. And we include data repositories and software repositories coming from the research infrastructures in Europe and worldwide. Okay. We also have good connections with other continents. So we establish relationships where similar graphs exist, and we collect and share our data with them. And of course, as a backbone of the graph, we use all the registries that are known and we all rely on. For example, Crossref for the OIs, DataCite for the OIs, Re3 Data, other registries like ORCID, we are ORCID members, and so on. As you see on the left, we also rely on somebody else's work, like Open Citations, Microsoft Academic at the time, which is now a little bit obsolete, unfortunately. So that's more of a leftover, and Paywall at that time, which is no longer the case. But again, when there is a graph, we collect the data. Okay, that's the which we trust, of course. Now, This is the model we're talking about in the graph. So you have research products at the center. Main classes are publications, data, and software and other products, together with links between them. And each product is connected to the persons, to the original data sources from which we collect the metadata, from which we know the files, the actual files of the research product are hosted and stored. And we have links to project streams and funders and affiliations, of course, where these are available. Okay, so the work that we are doing on Scholar Explorer focuses on the right side. So we take out of the graph this slice of all the citations that we care about between products. I'm highlighting this because you will not find in Scholar Explorer links between a product and a person, or a product and an organization. You only find links between products. It's an actual citation index in this most, I think, modern view, because it's not just about citations, it's about all possible relationships between objects. So in the provision chain, how the data reaches the graph. On the left side, we have all the data sources from which we are collecting information. It's about 2,000 today. Some of them are instrumental, as I mentioned before. So the registries, the actual authorities of persistent identifiers, these are very important for us. And the rest is, and the majority of them are about people knocking on our door to become compliant with our guidelines and providing us the data, and also the links when they have them between various objects. So it's thousands of repositories that are becoming compliant and giving us the metadata together, when possible, with the files that they're storing behind. In fact, we have an infrastructure for crawling such files. We are about a little bit beyond 70 million publications, so publications, scientific publications, from which we perform mining. So the metadata that we collect about links comes partly from the data sources when it is embedded in the metadata, and partly comes from the full text inference we perform. So we are collecting, we are inferring a lot of links between publications and data, publications and software, and also publication and publications. I'm sure you understand how this is important where the publication is closed access, for example, but we have the open access versions, and we can still collect all the links that are outgoing that publications to enrich the citation link. This is why we have good collaborations with Open Citations, because we deliver what we find to them. So I'm not going through the rest, but we do the deduplication. This is, again, another important thing. So if we have twice the same paper, which happens a lot, right? So we collect metadata from arXiv, but also from the open access publishers, where in the late stage this publication was published. We, of course, perform mining on both papers, and we infer the citations that are outgoing those papers. When we deduplicate and we bring these objects together, also the citations are deduplicated. Otherwise, they would count twice to the target objects. So any object that we point to, we only have one citations from one and all the versions of another paper. Okay, that's extremely important. And I'm saying this because it's not trivial. It's not banal. So many other colleagues of ours don't do it. Okay, so you need to do it on your side, basically. In this case, we give it out of the box. So this collection of the duplicated records and citations is then indexed in the OpenAIRE graph, but also in many other systems and used by many other systems. We also build another collection, as you see at the bottom, that is called Scholar Explorer, which is what we're talking about today. So from Scholar Explorer, you get all the duplicated and unique links between scientific products of all kinds. This is roughly what happens. OpenAIRE graph, we give the data to Scholar Explorer, so the slice, and Scholar Explorer publishes it in Zenodo as an open access data set. You can download it. As you see, it's been downloaded many times together with the model, the metadata model, and so on, or the APIs. So if you follow up on the link at the bottom of the page, you will also be able to find the APIs, a Swagger interface from which you can appreciate how the objects are published. You can query by DOI, of course, so you can by getting a DOI, get all the relationships that are outgoing this DOI. But you can also filter it by dates, by publisher, by object type. So you can perform many kind of filterings, including the publisher. Now, what is interesting is that we found this blog some time ago by Ludo and Nis, good colleagues from Leiden, which are very specialized on bibliometric databases, citation indexes, and so on. And they provided a list of recommendations that all citation indexes should try to address. And well, I'm happy to say that we do for all of this. So we cover all relevant preprint servers. If not, we can add, but I think we do. We provide comprehensive preprint metadata as long as this metadata is provided in the right way, but we do. We use it actually to perform the duplications between preprints and published versions. We provide the links between the preprints and the journal articles because when we deduplicate, of course, they go together and we keep track of the provenance of both, so we know about the connections. We provide the links between the preprint and reviews when reviews are properly published and linked. Of course, we have these links inside the system. We have an object that is called reviews, and when these are provided, we keep track of those. And we provided the duplicated citation, as I just explained. And we do not make arbitrary distinction between publication types in the sense that we keep track of the original types that are provided by us, by the original sources. So when we do the duplication, you will find the different manifestations of the same objects at the different original types together with links, together with tags that are telling us if they are open access, if they are peer-reviewed, if they are whatever, okay? So it's up to our consumers to choose what to do. These are some of the numbers. Today, we count, of course, a huge amount of publications and links to datasets. Okay, these are not the total datasets that we have in the graph, of course. These are the datasets affected by the links as well as the software. So the links that we are counting as source and target. I'm not going through the numbers, but we have more than 2 billion links. And of course, the majority is publications, which is 2 billion. And the rest is between publications and data, publications and software, data and data, and so on. On the right, you find also a summary of the kind of semantics we have, the majority being sites, of course. A peculiarity of the Scholar Explorer, if you're going to use it as a consumer using the APIs, is that we index only one direction of the citations, of course, not to make the index too large. So you only have the A cites B. You will not have the B is cited by A. But of course, you can derive it because you can query by target. So if you want to know who cites B, basically, you just run a query where the target is B and the semantic is sites. It's a minor observation for those of you who are more technical, okay? But that's a rough history on how we grew and why. And in the beginning, we started with DataCite. It was the first implementation in 2018. Then we started adding other repositories. We started to include the publications and data inference that we had. Then we improved the duplication, so the numbers, of course, went a little bit down. And then we started with experimenting with publication, software links, and so on. And the numbers grew up to the standard numbers that you find out there for this kind of indexes. But on top of that, we have the publication data and publication software links. We are recording 120 million accesses per month at the moment. Many, I think, are from Elsevier, of course, because they use it. But at the same time, I think they come from researchers or repositories. We also know about many repositories that are using our APIs to show on the fly which are the links, if any, between their publications and data or software and so on. We do, for example, in our own repositories at CNR, but there are many out there that are doing the same. So thank you. I think this is all for the overview. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Great. Thank you so much, Paolo. Yeah, we had something from Irina. Yes.
Hi, Paolo. Thanks a lot
Hello.
I wanted to talk about School Explorer at an event, and I went to this page schoolexplorer.openair.eu, and I haven't really found any links, like a link to an API. Maybe you can share.
You know what? No, I think I know. I actually have highlighted this. There is a link, and every time I find it hard to to it's a link behind one word API somewhere, and I asked them to change it so many times. So if you go, I don't know why it's been hidden. Every time I struggle here.
Oh, we see just the presentation.
Oh, sorry. Yes. It is there. It's just hard to find, and I don't know why. I've asked the API, the website people to let me show where I am now. Google Chrome, that's the one. Okay, let me go back. Okay, this is the page, right? So if you go
Yes.
to support, you go to the documentation, you go down, 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 down here. Latest API is available from here. Don't tell me why it's been hidden. It's not me, but I asked already to make sure that this will be fixed.
Thank you.
So let me show this one. I'm just cutting and pasting it here. Okay.
Thanks. And then we have another question in the chat from Carl Oskar, who asks, who can integrate with you to share the scientific data? What type of data are you after? Only peer-reviewed articles or also other scientific intermediary results?
Okay, no, as I told you, we collect the data from the OpenAIRE graph, so you need to connect to the OpenAIRE graph, and the OpenAIRE graph doesn't make any difference. So we have everything. We have preprints, peer-reviewed material, data from different sources, software from different sources, as long as such data sources are regarded scientifically related and provide science-related content, then we collect it. We collect the metadata where possible, and if allowed, we also collect the files, as I mentioned. Whatever we collect from there, which can be translated into a link, will appear also in School Explorer. Okay, so anybody can do it.
And then, sorry, go ahead.
No, I see the other question. Are there any differences in the number of items collected regarding different disciplines or fields? Well, there are. We are not making such a difference, though. So we are happy to and we're welcome to collect anything that is, again, scientifically related, but it's not up to us to decide on the numbers. Okay, so we have repositories from any science, from any kind of preprint server, from countries, from institutions. So in some cases, they're agnostic of the science. And when we bring everything together, of course, you can slice the graph in different ways and have access to different portions. Actually, we serve communities for that. So if you go to Connect, Connect is a portal that we offer for communities to delve into their own domain. For example, we have, and they can configure it, okay? So you can actually define the criteria according to which an object belongs to your portal. For example, let me pick one, Daria. This is the Daria, so is the infrastructure portal. And what I wanted to have is all the objects that are, for example, related to these 7 projects or linked to some of these other communities, and they come from these data sources. So as a result, they get these numbers, okay? And they can access it from here. So when you're searching here, you have a view that is the one of Daria. Okay, you can define and slice your cake the way you want. You can pick the data sources you want. You can define the criteria for data source, for the objects in this data source to become part of your domain and many other things. You can do the same with statistics. So monitoring, number of citations, number of fair objects you have, meaning I don't know, we analyze the distribution of ORCID authors. If you provide ORCID identifiers, what kind of persistent identifiers you have, and so on. This is a service that we provide, and it's the other one is called Monitor. These are all connected to the same data. For example, this is the one for the commission. So we're tracking what the commission wanted to track with respect to publications, data, software, products, distribution of funding, amount of money. We also have open science indicators like the openness score. You can, of course, download all the graphics that we have, but for example, article processing charges that we are collecting, you can have access to them. Plan S, fairness, for example, I think is the distribution of licenses, distribution of ORCID identifiers, etc. In publications with persistent identifiers, and which kind of persistent identifiers, for example, archive, PubMed, publications with the license. You can do the same, of course, with data and software and have the same numbers. Publication with abstracts. So this is about fairness overall. Okay, so you can slice the graph the way you want, basically. And the Scholar Explorer is just one more way to access the information behind, which is focused on links, because we know that people is interested in links and citations, and so we want it to be as clear as possible.
Thank you. If anyone else has any questions, again, you can post them here in the chat, in the Zoom Q&A, raise your hand, or also post them directly in the Google Doc as well. And if you would like another, later on, to get another quick recap or share information about the School Explorer API, you can refer to the release article that we made and also the documentation, which I'll paste in the chat now. And then, as always, the recording of this community call will be made available on the OpenAIRE Graph website in the community call section. So here is an article announcing the release of the School Explorer API, and then as also the documentation. Oops. Guess we'll also just work in another announcement. So as some of you may know, the new OpenAIRE Graph API have also recently been released, and we'll be hosting a public webinar on the 29th of April to explore the new features and real-world applications. If you're interested in joining, you can register via the link, the Zoom registration, which I'll also share here in the chat. And then I'll also share there the article announcing that release as well, if you'd like a bit more information and the documentation. And as always, feel free to share these invitations with your network as well. There are public webinars open for everybody. And also a teaser that 1 or 2 new features might also be ready by the time of the webinar. So we really encourage you to come and see what's more to come. See here. And then I see a question in the chat, model context protocol, question mark. We have more context.
1 second, can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
No, we haven't yet thought about it. I think people are helping themselves in many ways. Because we already had a large number of accesses, and now they're further increasing, and I think this is because of the LLM out there. So we may go that way, but of course it has implications on our side. This will encourage more and more to hit on our open APIs. Of course, open science is good, but it has a cost, right? And this is... No, Carl, I'm not sure if it's Carl or Oscar, but of course, aligning to all the standards out there would be the best for us. But at the moment, I think they're very happy with it. It looks like it. We are actually going through a major migration, so we're moving to even more efficient and performant infrastructure in the next month, hopefully by the end of May. So the moment the index is performing well, it looks like many of the queries are being cached properly, so we're happy with it. But the beginning, when we released, it was shocked, right? So it was really trembling, and it took a while to stabilize. But at the end of the May, should be at the end of May, should we have a much more performant version.
Thanks. Yes, Stefania.
Thank you, Paolo. I noticed that we had in one of our previous community calls a question that was added, and maybe it's relevant now. The question was if we exclude from the graph retracted papers and their citations.
Good point. We haven't decided yet what's the best strategy. So at the moment, we're not making any difference. The real question is, shall we remove those papers and those citations, or should we tag them? So allow people to decide what to do with them, basically. I'm opting for the second. Okay, so we are nobody to decide what's in, what's out. But we need to be transparent. So we need to tell the world, look, this citation comes from a retracted paper, or look, this paper has been retracted. Okay, so and the problem is that is really when you talk to people, bibliometricians, they have different point of views. So a retracted paper, the fact that the paper has been retracted doesn't really change much in terms of the citation in a way. So the paper was bad, you should not consider it, but the citation was there, so given value to somebody else's work. So shall we remove it? Shall we not remove it? This is, let's say, a quest for the truth that I don't want to be in charge of. So probably we'll go for the second one. Still, at the moment, we're not making any difference. So you
If
can,
anybody here has an opinion?
yeah,
or
would be
a
nice to know.
point of view? Was a question that was maybe unanswered or was added after in the document. I don't know, but I saw.
It is a
Yeah.
good one, and it's a tricky word. I'm sure you heard about those citations that were somehow appearing in Crossref, but with no origin. Yes. So the basic, so after an analysis, they realized that some of the citations in Crossref have been injected without any apparent reason. So there were not citations from the original paper to the target papers. So who is going to identify those? And when you identify them, these are retracted citations, and we should remove them, or something got lost on the way, or we don't know. There is an article about it. Some researchers that spot this anomaly. It is an anomaly after all. Citation mafia. Yes, Elena, I tend to agree.
Sorry? Oh, me. Oh, sorry.
Yes, I'm reading not you.
There's two Elenas. I was like, wait, I didn't say anything.
Elena or Elena, I'm not sure. Moro is she's writing, and I agree.
Yeah, it's me. It's Elena, Elena Bataner. Thank you, Paolo. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Questions? Now we do have one more announcement. A reminder, some of you, I don't know if you've seen, but the Open Science Fair 2025 call for contributions is still open. So you can share your projects, innovations in open science and everything. So you can submit your proposal and be part of the conversation. via this link here, which I'll also paste in the chat. I don't know if we have anything more, any new updates. Marilee, if there's anything you wanted to add to that.
Yes, thank you, Elena. I would like to add also that the call for sponsorship for the Open Science Fair 2025 is open until the end of May, specifically at the 31st of May. So you can check all sponsorship packages under this link. And you can be one of our partners and be in this very nice event. Let me add the link here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm not seeing any more questions. So a reminder again that if something does pop up, you can always reach out to us via the OpenAIRE Graph user forum, which I know already pasted in the chat, but might be a bit buried now. So I'm just going to paste it again here as well. And again, this is a great way to interact with both the team and then amongst the community. So you can also, it's not just for questions, but you can share tips, feedback, anything. So it's really very open-ended. So we'll share that here now. And then as always, we'll share the recording slides and recording in the follow-up once everything is made available online. And we encourage you, of course, to sign up for our next call, which topic to be determined. But as always, should be an interesting discussion. So if we don't have anything else, won't keep you, maybe give everybody an extra 20 minutes before maybe a next meeting. There's nothing else. I guess we can end it there and then wish you all a good day and maybe a nice long holiday weekend.
Thank you all. Yes, enjoy.
Thank you again, Paolo. Yes.
Ciao. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.